There's a naturally occurring mineral that eradicates every crawling insect in your home. Not with neurotoxins, not with synthetic poisons, and not with a monthly subscription to a pest control company that costs you $150 per visit. It is a powder made from the skeletons of organisms that lived 30 million years ago. It costs less than $4 at any garden supply store. And it creates a permanent, lethal perimeter that never expires, never evaporates, and never loses its potency. It kills bedbugs, cockroaches, ants, and fleas with 100% mechanical efficiency, in conditions where modern chemical sprays fail because insects develop genetic resistance. This mineral remains undefeated because you cannot develop a resistance to the laws of physics. So why haven't you been told about it? Because the global pest control industry generates $22 billion a year selling you a cycle of chemical dependency. They sell you sprays that last for 30 days, baits that need constant replacement, and service contracts that keep a stranger coming to your door every quarter for the rest of your life. A mineral that solves the problem permanently for the price of a cup of coffee cannot be patented, cannot be branded, and cannot generate the recurring revenue that shareholders demand. What cannot be sold as a subscription must be buried as a secret. This is the story of Diatomaceous Earth, the microscopic razor wire, that the chemical industry prayed you would never learn to use. Welcome to my channel. Before we open this vault, if these stories matter to you, the bell and the subscribe button are the only ways to preserve this knowledge. Share this with someone who is tired of paying for a problem that nature solved millions of years ago. Now let us go back to where this story begins. 1836, northern Germany. A German peasant named Peter Kasten is digging a well on the edge of the Lüneburg Heath. He expects to find water, but instead he strikes a massive vein of white, chalky earth. He calls it bergmehl, or mountain meal. It is incredibly light, highly absorbent, and feels like fine flour between the fingers. But Kasten notices something strange. In the areas where this white dust is present, there are no insects. The beetles, the flies, and the stinging ants that usually plague his workspace have simply vanished. Those that remain are dead, appearing as though they have been drained of all life, their shells brittle and hollow. Kasten doesn't realize he has stumbled upon the fossilized remains of diatoms, hard-shelled aquatic algae that lived in prehistoric oceans. Their skeletons are made of pure silica, the same material used to make glass. For millions of years, these microscopic fossils settled on the floors of ancient lakes and seas, forming thick deposits of white mineral dust. To a human, it feels like soft powder. To an insect, it is a landscape of millions of microscopic glass shards. By the mid-19th century, this mountain meal was being used by farmers across Europe to protect grain silos. They found that mixing a small amount of the dust with harvested wheat kept weevils and beetles away indefinitely. It required no heat, no chemicals, and no maintenance. The grain stayed pure for years, but as the Industrial Revolution gained momentum, the focus of human progress shifted from working with natural principles to inventing synthetic solutions. We traded the wisdom of the earth for the convenience of the laboratory, and in that trade, the $4 mineral was the first thing to be forgotten. To understand why this mineral is so devastating to pests, you have to understand the elegant and brutal science of how an insect survives. Unlike mammals, insects do not have internal skeletons. They live inside a rigid exoskeleton made of chitin to prevent their internal fluids from evaporating in the open air. This exoskeleton is coated in a microscopic layer of lipids, a waxy, waterproof film that seals their moisture inside. If that waxy layer is compromised, the insect dies, not from poison, but from rapid total dehydration. This is where the diatomaceous earth works its silent magic. When an insect crawls across a layer of this powder, the microscopic silica shards, which are sharper than any surgical scalpel, physically lacerate the waxy coating of the exoskeleton. Simultaneously, the porous structure of the diatoms acts like a high-powered sponge, absorbing the insect's internal fluids through the cuts. It is a dual-action mechanical assault. The insect is shredded and drained at the same time, because this is a physical attack rather than a chemical one. It is impossible for an insect to develop an immunity to it. A cockroach can evolve to process a neurotoxin, but it cannot evolve to survive being sliced open by glass and dried out by minerals. This is why the industry is so terrified of this knowledge. Their entire business model is built on the treadmill of resistance. They invent a chemical, the bugs adapt, they invent a stronger chemical, and you keep paying. Diatomaceous Earth stops the treadmill. It is the end of the war. But in a multi-billion-dollar economy, they need the war to last forever. Before I continue, I've compiled every application technique, safety specification, and historical mineral source mentioned in this video into a complete survival document, the exact perimeter shield protocols used by agriculturalists to protect food supplies, for decades without a single chemical additive. The link is in the description. It is yours to download and keep. Now, back to why you have never seen a commercial for this mineral on television. The global pest control market is currently valued at $22 billion and is projected to reach $32 billion by 2030. Companies like Rollins, Terminix, and Rentokil dominate this space. Their financial reports are public, and they reveal a startling truth. Over 80% of their revenue comes from residential service contracts. In the language of Wall Street, a service contract is just a polite way of saying captive customer. If they sold you a permanent solution, their stock price would collapse. They need you to believe that pests are a recurring biological inevitability, that only their proprietary branded chemicals can manage. They have successfully reclassified pest control from a knowledge-based skill into a product-based service. This is why, in 12 states across America, the use of diatomaceous earth is wrapped in a thick layer of regulatory red tape. In states like California and New York, pesticide application laws are so strict that a landlord or a maintenance worker can be fined thousands of dollars for applying this natural mineral in a public building without a professional pest control license. They claim it is about safety, but the mineral is classified by the FDA as generally recognized as safe and is often used as an anti-caking agent in the very food you eat. The ban isn't about protecting your lungs. It is about protecting the professional monopoly of the exterminator. I need to be honest with you here, because this channel values precision over hyperbole. Not all diatomaceous earth is the same, and using the wrong kind can be dangerous. There are two primary versions, pool grade and food grade. Pool grade diatomaceous earth has been chemically treated and heated to high temperatures in a process called calcination. This turns the silica into a crystalline form that is excellent for water filtration, but extremely toxic to human and animal lungs if inhaled. This is the version the industry points to when they want to scare you, away from the mineral entirely. However, food-grade diatomaceous earth is the raw, untreated mineral. It is amorphous silica, not crystalline. It is safe to handle and even safe for pets to ingest in small amounts to treat internal parasites. But even with food grade, you must use caution. It is a very fine dust, and like any dust, it can irritate the respiratory tract if you kick it up into the air in large quantities. The key is in the application, not a cloud, but a thin, invisible film. Here's exactly how you build a permanent insect barrier for under $4. Pay attention, because the industry would rather you buy a $20 spray bottle that lasts 2 weeks. Step 1. The source. Purchase only food-grade diatomaceous earth. You can find a 5-pound bag for about $10, which is enough to protect 5 average-sized homes for a decade. The cost per application is effectively pennies. Step 2. The dry zone. The mineral only works when it is dry. Moisture clogs the microscopic pores of the diatoms and blunts the silica shards. If the area is damp, the trap will not spring. Ensure your target areas are bone dry before proceeding. Step 3. The invisible film. Most people make the mistake of pouring thick lines of powder. This is counterproductive. Insects are not stupid. If they see a mountain of white powder, they will simply walk around it. You want to apply a layer so thin it is almost invisible to the naked eye. Use a bulb duster or even an old makeup brush to puff a fine mist of the mineral into crevices, behind baseboards and under appliances. Step 4. The void space. This is the most critical step. Pests like cockroaches and bedbugs live in the voids, the spaces inside your walls, under your cabinets, and behind your electrical outlets. Remove your outlet covers and puff a small amount of the mineral into the wall cavity. You're turning the very structure of your home into a lethal environment for anything with an exoskeleton. Step 5. The perimeter. Sink. Focus on entry points. The threshold of your front door, the gaps where plumbing pipes enter the walls, and the perimeter of your foundation. You are creating a kill zone that every insect must cross to enter your living space. Once they touch the dust, their clock begins to tick. They will be dead within 24 to 72 hours. The solution to pests was never a more toxic chemical. It was never a more expensive service contract. It was an understanding of the relationship between silica and chitin, a physical law that has existed since the first diatom died 30 million years ago. Your ancestors did not have a $22 billion industry to call. They had the earth, they had the minerals, they had the knowledge that the more you know, the less you carry. And more importantly, the less you have to buy. We did not lose the ability to live pest-free. We were simply convinced that our own intelligence was an insufficient substitute for a branded product. But the fossils are still in the ground. The physics are still in the dust. And the $4 mineral is still sitting on the shelf, waiting for you to remember. If this vault opened something for you today, subscribe and hit the bell. Every share is a strike against the architecture of dependency they built around us. The next vault opens soon, and what is inside is even heavier.